Warm greetings. My name is Wandile Nyembezi, currently doing my third year at UKZN Edgewood campus. Student number is 2210 3674. Well, right now I'm going to be doing a reflection video on my TPs whereby I'm reflecting about my TP experience, what I experienced, what I've seen. Well, I was doing my TP, the university sent me to do my teaching practice at a school located here in Pinetown, Cluster 5, in a small village, in a small area, per se, namely Shongwenedem, near Wandengezi. When I got to the school, what I first saw is that the school, I think I would say it's on quintile 2, since students are not paying any fees, and it's you would say a poor school. And the school is located in an area whereby people are of a lower class, a lower living class, people that actually try to make a means end every day, every now and then. Even the students, you can see that with their children. What I noticed with the school also is that its buildings are fairly worn out, but even though they are still like in good working shape, but in due time they are going to need a little bit of revamping here and there. Now, going to the staff, well, in the school I think there are approximately 17 teachers. They had a lot of EAs, teacher educator assistants to say. They also had, I think we student teachers were approximately 5 or 6, if I'm not wrong, we were 5 to be exact. Well, in this school I was teaching in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, since you can do matric obviously. And in those classes, in grade 10 I was doing my English, grade 11 I was doing English and history, since we had to split our subjects. And then the subject in question I was doing in grade 9, of which is social sciences. Now, when I got to the school was at a point whereby we were doing a topic of weathering. We were doing weathering, and when I first got to the class, I asked learners about what they generally know and what they've generally learned about weathering. Unfortunately, some of them knew about weathering, some of them didn't, some of them needed you to give them hints, so as to make sure that they are within the topic. Now, the first thing that I did to try and introduce the topic, it was to ask them, what is it that they think happens in the soil when it's eroded? In cases of erosion, in cases of earthquakes, in cases of acid rains, if need be, in cases of cows walking on top of the rocks, what happens to those rocks? What are the terms that they think are used to describe those rocks? And what is it that they think they are seeing when they are seeing a rock with trees on them? Some of them even said it might be magic, but we had to get to such positions in order for students to be flexible enough to understand. So I had to explain to them the types of weathering. It may be physical weathering, it may be chemical weathering, it may even be a biological weathering. And to this topic per se, I would say students responded fairly well, because it was a topic that I think it was more general to them, since it's an area whereby students still go to swim in the rivers, students still go fishing in the rivers, so they would see certain things that we would talk about along the course of the topic. Now, the most interesting that I've seen them come into the topic was when we were speaking of physical weathering, when we had to explain to them that even rocks, there is expansion and contraction of the rock, whenever like there's rainfall, and then there are cracks within the rock, and then the water infiltrates the rock, and then it expands as the water infiltrates the rock, and then when the water seeps deep into the rock, it freezes, and then the rock expands again, causing it to eventually be weathered. Now, the students seen this as some sort of like supernatural factor, but as time went by, they could see that it's something practical and it's something that they can tell also that it is natural because it's something that they've also seen, because some of them even made examples that when they went to the rivers, they would carry their matchboxes, and then burn those rocks, and then if you burn a rock enough, eventually, it breaks. Now, the type of, I would say, when we were learning, you could tell that what we needed to do was to try and use collaborative pedagogy. That's the type of pedagogy that I used because I believed that the topic was like general to them. Therefore, meaning if it's general for them, it's common. Meaning, if it's common, then they can actually work together to try and come up with new ways of understanding weathering, to try and come up with new ways in groups, and to also speak about things that they've all seen and that they relate to. Now, I also tried by all means to give them like case studies whereby they would go out there, do their research, on each of those weatherings. It may be physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering, whereby each member of the group has a role to play. You may be presenting the topic, or maybe writing, being the writer of the group, and also coming up with a piece of information and piecing together the information that they brought, so as to see where we stand as a class instead of just looking at individuals, because at a certain point in time it's not about an individual, but it's about the whole class. Now, moving forward, eventually, because this was an interesting topic for them, it was enticing. We had to write class tests, and I could tell that certain students were, I think this thing of groups picked them up, because as we were starting the topic, the lesson, I could tell that they were a little bit left behind, but as we ended the topic, I think we ended on a high note, and we worked very well together. Now, I would say my experience was it was tremendous. It was very much tremendous. It was amazing. It was of tremendous success. I saw a lot of things. I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of things from the people of the school. I learned a lot of things from the learners, because they were very engaging, and they were taking part in the topic whenever I was talking to them. And I would say they were very interested in learning. It's unfortunate that I've only had a month, but I believe that with time I'm still going to learn a lot, even from the students, even from the teachers, because all teachers have different approaches, and I still believe that even my approach is going to grow in time, and I'm going to learn new ways of teaching in classes, because I'm a student teacher at the end of the day whenever I go to those schools. And the teachers were very welcoming. Even the social sciences teacher gave me tactics here and there, told me to try by all means to use the ATP, which is the annual teaching plan. As I said, I conclude. My name is Wandile Nyembezi once again, student number 2210.